Hi, it's Russ from Pro Tools Expert. Another email from one of you saying, could I show some of the tricks on the new Chris Brown Turn Up the Music? Don't even think it's released yet, but it's out there on the internet in a few places. And so this is the track. And again, as I've said before, I don't play the track because of copyright restrictions. So you'll have to go and listen to it yourself afterwards. So the few things on there that are quite nice and quite cool that I can show you a few tricks with is, first, I want to talk about the synth sound. And let me just bring that up to the top because I'm going to show you a trick I've done with the synth. This is the synth part on Chris Brown's track. What I want to show you actually is I'm going to go to my notes actually so I can see them here on the grid. I'm just going to open up the grid onto 16th notes. So here are the notes for the synth here. And this is how the synth part sounds. Let me just turn the bass off as well. Okay, right. The first thing I want to say, and it's a trick that somebody's asked me about because I showed replacing drums recently against an audio track where I put a new kick against an original kick that was in a stereo mix. And somebody said, how did I do that? Did I extract the MIDI first and then bring it back in and then use those notes? No, what I do is if you look here, if we zoom in close enough on the audio track here, because at the start of this track, it's just the synth riff. If you're going to listen to it afterwards, you'll hear it. So this is the synth riff, and all the notes here are shown on the grid. So you go there, 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 there. It's a kind of triplet time, because if we then look at the grid underneath here as well, we can see the notes as well. And all I then do is basically, if you want it to be completely spot on, you can either draw them in with your pencil tool, or you can play them in step time, and then you can just go here and move them around. So I'm literally matching note for note the length of the note and where it sits on the grid. So you can see it can eye match, and you can, what we call in video editing, shot matching. We're just note matching basically. So we can see there that's a long note with a bit of a decay there. And there's some more long notes, and there's a longer note there where something else happens in a second. So you can see there I've gone through the track basically, and I've gone through step time and put the notes in step time. And the only thing I've got to figure out then is what notes are being played. So if I know what notes are being played, I can then literally either draw them in or step time them in. And what I mean by step time, I'm just going to take out this first bar here and delete those out. And we're going to come to the synth. So there's two notes. There's the notes. If you can't play that, if you can't play it in quick enough, you can do it in step time, as I say. So we can come up to event here, event operations, step input, and what we have is we have some short notes first. So that's the length of the note we want, and we choose enable here, and we choose the synth track as well, which is where we want it. We'll literally play them in, and then we go. We need a step, and we need a half step this time, so we choose that and go next step. So the cursor's now there. And then in a minute, I'm going to go back in afterwards and drag those out to be longer. So we need a full step this time, so go next step. And then a half step again. And then a full step again. So then we've got them all in match now. Now we can go in there now. Pull that one out. So it's the length. And that one out as well. Turn that off. Just check those now. And that one as well needs to be longer, so we just drag those out as well. So that's how I do it. So that's the first thing about how you get your notes in. I'm just going to undo all of that so I can get my notes back where I had them before. The other thing as well is the velocity needs to be higher as well. And you just go down here to change velocity, and there's the velocity lane. As you can see, I've pushed them all the way up. Literally just mark them with the mouse, and then you can just push the velocity up. So that's the first thing. The next thing, of course, is the sound. So we come up to the sound now, and the sound is just basically a poly-saw sound, and you come all the way down here. Now this is where it's good for you to start getting into synthesis to understand that if you don't know what you're looking for, I knew this was a saw wave sound, then you are going to be stuck, because every time, one of the things is to be able to identify sounds in tracks, you either have to know what patch they were using or know what kind of synth sound in terms of the shape of the waveform. Now, don't often do this, but I'm going to do it today. I do a series on the Groove 3 site called Synths Explained, and that takes you all the way back to waveforms, to ADSR and all that kind of stuff, and that is what will enable you to not only identify the sounds but then recreate them. So I'm creating this sound from scratch by going to Polysaw here, and then I know it's a short, so I need a short attack, a short release, and then I'm detuning the oscillators as well and turning the cutoff down a bit. The thing I also realised as well was there's a compressor limiter on it as well, because if we have it the comp off, and that's flattening out the sound. Now the last thing is perhaps all of you are asking, how have I done that final bit here on the notes here? And that's a cool trick using a thing called filter gate. But the thing is, we're not only using the filter gate, what we've got to do is we've got to do some automation on it, because the filter gate would normally do this. If I play the whole track here, that's with it off. But if I put it on, I'm going to make sure this is on straight. This cutoff is right up here, and the resonance is up a bit. This has got to be mixed to about 68%, and it's got to be at a 32 note rate. But it only appears just for a fraction in the song. So what we need to do is automate it, because I want to bypass it and do this trick. Now, I can't do that fast enough, so I can draw it in instead. So what I do is go to Automation here, and I come over here and choose Master Bypass and add it to my list and press OK. Then if I drop down here now, instead of having velocity right down to the bottom, Master Bypass, you could see there, it's bypassed for most of it, and then I'm just using my tool to draw it back in. So if I delete that back out again now. So at the moment, that's the note normally. So we've got to draw it in. So we choose where we want the note to go. Just I think about there, and just turn it off. So it'll be on for a couple of notes. And of course, we want to make sure then that this automation here is reading. Goes green. You see the bypass drops off for a second. So that's that. The next thing is the bass part, which is here. And that's another thing that you need to know about synths. It's a very low nondescript sound, so most of it is literally, and it's just these two you're looking at here. Just ignore this one. In fact, I'll delete that so you don't need to see it. And it's a mono sine, so it's just a sine wave is a very good thing for sub-bass, because it's very nondescript. It doesn't change with filters and stuff like that. It either gets quieter or louder, and that's about it. Then I've got a soft-fingered bass in there as well, and I've turned all the cutoff down on that soft-fingered bass as well. So you've got a very low but nondescript sound. So that's the bass in there now. And then again, on that bass, I've got a compressor limiter, very hard on the bass guitar. Just squashing that down. So this is a pop track, so it's squashed to hell, to be honest. Then the kick drum. Here, I've got a kick drum, and I've got just chosen from my kick menu. One of the kicks, one of the low kicks. It's not exactly the same one on the track, but I'm just giving myself a low kick with a compressor on it again. The last thing somebody said to me is, how did they get the clap sound? Well, they get the clap sound by using claps. And if you go to the expand 24 drums and to go to the clap menu, the good news is there's claps menu. You will find that they actually have the clap sound that's used on that track. It's actually a Simmons clap, I think, from the old Simmons clap trap. And if I go through here, and, somewhere. And again, the compressor's doing a lot of work on there as well. There's the original. Now the thing is, the clap doesn't actually come in at this point of the song, but that's how you get the clap sound. So I thought, while I was showing you how to do some of the sounds on this track and some of the tricks for getting those kind of parts in, that's how you get that clap sound, and it features further on in the track if you actually listen to the whole song in its entirety. It's quite nice in there anyway. And the last thing I've then done is added Maxim. This is the new looking Maxim. You might have the old looking Maxim, but it works exactly the same. And if you choose Pop Radio Limiter, this is the difference with it, without it. See, it gives us a load of energy. One final thing about the Synth Sound also has got on it a reversed reverb there, as you can see. Just turn it on there using that knob there, and then use the FX key knob there to give it the amount. So there we are, some tricks to show you how some of the stuff was achieved in that song using just the Pro Tools gear. Of course, they would have used different synths, they would have used different processes, but what we're always showing you is how to do this with just the gear you get in Pro Tools. So I know there was probably a Moog used in the studio, and there was probably really the Simmons Claptrap there or something else, but this is just to show you guys who've got not shed loads of money to throw at stuff, how you can do this just by using the gear you get with Pro Tools. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.